Hello, cats and kittens. Oliver Jose Yoroshko, and welcome back to the Crisis Corner for C3 Weekly. This will be episode 14. C3 Weekly, I'm here with one of the founding fathers of C3 Comics, Alan Cole. What's up, man?
What's going on, Zach?
Hey, it's good, man.
Hey.
It's all good except for the topic for today, which is the comic book industry's failure to... anyway... Basically, what I call the abusive relationship between comics and Hollywood, and I'm going to say specifically live action Hollywood, because you will find many faithful adaptations of comic book story arcs and animation. If you go over to, especially over at Warner Brothers, they'll give you a decent adaptation, maybe not spot on, correct.
Say decent. That's the right way to say it, decent.
You go to get you a Dark Knight, or get you Batman Year One, or get you, I mean, you would say Judas Contract, maybe it wasn't point for point, but you know, for a movie, I mean, this is pretty good. Man. But when you get to live action, the issue that I run in with live action comic book movies is they take from the comic book industry, but they don't give back.
What do you mean by don't give back?
I don't see any reciprocity between a live, say the MCU's Infinity Saga as a whole. I'm not sure how many units of comics that pushed. Or was there a direct attempt, you know, to push or to give back to the industry? Although they made billions and billions from it, and they gave Stan Lee props. Yeah, he got a lot of cameos and stuff like that. But how much did the comic book industry actually intentionally benefit from Hollywood? I don't think it's been equal. I don't think it's been like an equal give and take. You know, I don't see Hollywood promoting comics.
Well, so I never thought about it that way, but does Hollywood do the same thing? I mean, is it reciprocal for like the book industry? Like say Harry Potter. Obviously the sales went up with Harry Potter, but you know, Hollywood itself didn't directly promote the books. I mean, they did, obviously everyone knew that they were getting the material from books, just like in Game of Thrones too. Like it doesn't really seem like that they were really pushing any of those things either.
Well, when you look at
now, do you think that they have an obligation to push the comic retail market?
I think it would be beneficial.
For whom?
I think for either involved, because new story arcs, say like, it would be difficult to do like Powers of X, or Powers of X, whatever you call it, House of X, Powers of X, in a movie format.
You mean House of M?
Not the one the Joker that just dropped.
X of Swords.
In that vein, that whole continuity where they're doing with the XMen or Core doing their whole thing, whatever. House of X, Powers of X, or whatever. That back to back.
It's X of Swords.
Whichever. Man, I read some. That's another thing. The current XMen situation, that's a separate issue I'm gonna get into in a minute. But yeah, put it like this. Tom Clancy has a book that does an adaptation, and you hear Tom Clancy's name all over it. All right, they said, you know, from the best-selling Tom Clancy novel, such and such. You know, and that generates some mojo for the book, although I guess it was already a bestseller or whatever. But his name gets attached to his movies more so than you don't hear based on Chris Claremont's, you know, God Loves, Man Kills when X-Men 2 came out. You didn't hear it out there like Tom Clancy. And also when you get into the representation in terms of the the liberties that are taken with a lot of the comic movies, like SpiderMan having an organic weapon, right? Or something in that vein. The comic industry will go ahead and try to keep pace with Hollywood and make certain changes to match up with Hollywood, but Hollywood just does what it does. You know what I'm saying? If so-and-so Professor X is black, you know, then the comics would say, oh, we got to hurry up and change Professor X to be black.
You could just say Nick Fury.
Or whoever. Yeah, exactly. The same point. That's the point. You know what I'm saying? And it does that, and, you know, because, you know, whatever agenda's going on over there, right? So the comics say, oh, well, if we want to get some of that Hollywood money, we'll go ahead and make that change, but it don't transfer. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't transfer over.
Now you talking specifically about like appropriation of people. So you talking about like the black Superman that is supposedly going to be
That could be a case. That could be a case. Yeah.
Which I'm assuming won't be Clark Kent because they're not going to push it that far.
I'm guessing it's
Valzad or
Valzad.
I don't know who the other one is. I know there's another one. I can't think of his name.
Oh, that's something's. You got Valzad, and the other one's Calvin. Something or other.
I guess I could Google it right now, but
I did a video on that.
Because that's the one that did the second one, not the Valzad one, which surprised me actually.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's Hollywood. Yeah, seems to be just a cesspool of people wanting to make money, which is essentially every job everywhere. Everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to make their money. And you're giving it's just that it's the mind meld of, you know, like Spock doing this thing between comics, creativity, and finance. Creativity and finance. I mean, think about it. That's essentially what WB fell prey to. You know, they came out with 3 movies and they wanted to compare those 3 movies to, or 2 movies and compare them to the 10 or 12 that Marvel had already put out, which the end of that, you know, the end of phase 1 was essentially, you know, $1 billion result. And they took it and was just like, oh, well, it's Wonder Woman, it's Batman, it's Superman. Oh, it should easily do. It should easily do $1 billion. And with thinking like that's where I think that they don't take either the material or the fans themselves, the end product as serious as they should. Because yes, you know, it may do $1 billion. You can even have a goal for it to do $1 billion. But before Avengers, there wasn't really, no one really thought that comic books were going to do $1 billion. And now it's just average. So every movie that comes out, they're thinking, oh, it should do $1 billion. Comic book movie. No, that's not how this works. In an off way, I think the movie industry has benefited the comic industry. If you look at it by way of conventions themselves have blown up because of the interconnectivity between the movies, the superstars that are in them, and their comic counterparts. So now if you have a Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck there doing signings or in, you know, Hall H, doing the premiere of their stuff. I mean, you're bringing people there, and even though they may not be buying comic books, and I know, you know, a constant gripe amongst a lot of independents, including ourselves, is that people aren't coming here for our books. People aren't coming here for the smaller books. Well, the thing is, they're coming. Yeah, that's the big thing. So now it's on us to make ourselves notice to the people there, because you know everybody is putting out something that's relatable to something that other people are looking at on the big screen. So the people are there, and we have to, you know, people have to learn how to take advantage of those people being there. So I do think, because if the movies hadn't taken off the way that they were, we wouldn't be getting a lot of the shows. Streaming wouldn't be taken off because it would be a severe lack of content to push a lot of these things. I mean, look at Zack Snyder's HBO Max has blown up simply because of the hype behind Zack Snyder's Justice League. So they're using it to push their platforms, which does go to your case. They're using it to push their platform. However, they only had the opportunity because the executives that had it, you know, fumbled the ball severely, you know, and then literally punched themselves in the nuts. when they hired Joss Whedon.
My thing is this: would it hurt them so bad to say, like, before uh, the next Avengers movie drops, say, go to your local comic shop and, check this out or whatever? I mean, actually push. I mean, some of that is, I'll give it, is the comic book industry does a horrible job of marketing. It doesn't market itself very well. But if you see this gold mine, we're basically, we're mining for all of these, we're mining these IPs to make these stories. Go ahead and drop them, throw them the bone. You know what I'm saying? Say, before a Marvel movie, give some kind of in-depth, like, interview while you're sitting there eating your popcorn, waiting for the movie to start. Give some, throw them a bone and say, yo, Marvel Comics, this, that, the other. Or have some kind of brief snippet in the interview with some creator that's blowing up and say, oh, you can check out the rest of his stuff here or whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like there's that kind of, whereas comics, like I say, are jumping through hoops to appease or to get their tease a smile out of the face of all of these Hollywood execs and so forth.
I think it does. I don't think that it's happening on the comic book level, the comic book retailer level. But let me try to gather my thoughts on it. So, you know about Pops, right? Mm-hmm. So when I watched the documentary on Pops on Netflix a little while ago, I can't remember what year they started making them, but they've been making them for a long time. Mm-hmm. A very, very long time, like longer than we've known about them being made. And they've just become the cultural icon that they've become within the last 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. And think about it. They're making pops of everything, cultural references, movies, TV shows, any kind of niche product. But obviously the biggest one are horror icons and comic related stuff. That's what really propelled it to where it is now. Mm-hmm. But you can find pops at all comic book stores. You can find them at, GameStop took a good portion of what its remodeling plan was. And so you go into GameStop and there's a whole just wall of pops. I mean, I think that they had the greatest amount of pops outside of like maybe Third Eye or some of the bigger comic book stores. Mm-hmm. But then you go into Walmart, you go into Target, they have pops there. And they may be just splattered around. But I was just in Target the other day, they had pops on an area that was in like the home decoration section. It was on a display. So pops is putting itself in people's face as just like a novelty purchase. Just like, a Snickers bar or something. You just pick it up like when you're in line and you see it like, oh, I like this character. And they would conveniently, like, some of them weren't comic characters, but they're putting themselves out there. So if we were to remember a long time ago, I was saying that we need comic book stores near movie theaters. Right. We need to bring comic books closer. So I look at it as just like with Diamond. Diamond gives you a platform. Mm-hmm. People don't want to use Diamond because, they come up with a lot of different excuses, or they're bad for the industry, or they're too restrictive. Well, the thing is, they're there to make money. Mm-hmm. So if they don't think they can make money off of you, they're not going to go with you. And if you are putting out an inferior product, or you feel like you're not being fairly like all that stuff plays into it. Remember, we got rejected 3 times off of Intrepid One until we finally made it in. Right. Because we were persistent, right? Mm-hmm. So Diamond is a platform. Diamond's not there to make you rich or to put your stuff out there. It gives you a platform where you can promote your stuff to retailers. And to push off of it, you got to do the hard work, just like Kickstarter. Gives you a platform to be able to make money and get your ideas out there. And just like with the retailers in the movie industry, I think it's the same way. If I were to have a comic book store right now, one of the main things I would do would be to approach whatever the nearest movie theater is. That section where they have the older arcade games. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, I'm thinking it has to be costing more money to run those. Just the electricity and all that. Electricity alone, because they don't, they're severely antiquated, and it's something that they've remodeled the entire movie theater except for that one section take that one section and rent out a comic kiosk.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
And so you got to think, if you have $1 billion Avengers movie, how much do you think is actually going to go over into that one section before or after the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Like it has to.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're willing to pay $30 for popcorn, one thing of popcorn and a soda, they're going to pick up a few bucks, and you don't even have to overprice them. They're already priced high.
Yeah.
So just it doesn't have to be anything new. You can put all trades in there. Mm-hmm. So the stories that you were talking about, the Cliff Claremont ones, you can go in there and get it, and it'll be a perfect opportunity for what used to happen back in the day, where parents used to actually take their kids to the retail, to the comic book store.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I was introduced. My dad took me to the comic store. He went out of his way. I wasn't even, the first few years, I wasn't really even into it. It was just something nice to do with my dad, and I got stuff that I was able to do, to look at and copy drawing. So I think if there was more of a effort, I mean, maybe if when I don't know, say the next Miss Captain Marvel movie come out, maybe if Marvel Comics wanted to do a free, comic for select movie theaters to hand out.
Now they do that. They make special editions. Yeah, they make but
they're giving them a coupon for their local neighborhood comic book retailer.
Right.
Because attach it.
The adaptations and stuff that they do for movies and stuff, they're mainly for the tourists. Mm-hmm. When I say tourists, I mean people that don't really know nothing about comics. They're just like, oh wow, is that what that comic is? And they be like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, the cats, that's in it. I mean, cats have been collecting comics or whatever. They walk past that like, what else? It don't mean nothing to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody got that first one. Once they get hooked, you know what they say. Once they get hooked.
And there's another thing about this whole deal that to me is kind of like, it's the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. And where I don't see blame is the fact that if you do the comparison between manga and anime, mm-hmm. and between the United States, and their comic industry, mm-hmm. If you wanted to do blow-by-blow movies or blow-by-blow animation or whatever, the nature of American comics is such that you can't get a definitive Batman or definitive Captain America, Superman or whatever. Whereas in Japan, man, One Piece is One Piece. Whether you're reading the Joker in the book or you're watching it in there, they seem this is symmetry. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It clicks. So that not only you go over there and see those movies like the One Piece film gold or whatever, blows up. It's making crazy money in Japan. But then you go and get the books, the trades, they're blowing up too. Yep. That's what I want to see in the United States. I want to see both of them blowing up at the same time. It's difficult to do because, like I say, the nature of American comics is not that easy to do. Mm-hmm. You could do it with the trades for sure, I guess, because you can make a movie based on a story arc, you could say, which is the genius of what they did with Marvel. They basically did a saga crossovers. A self-contained saga with crossovers, mm-hmm. over a span of 10 years. Right. Which I'll never stop giving them credit for that, no matter what you think of the content.
That's fantastic how they did.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. It's one of the most amazing feats I ever seen in comics.
Very, very ambitious.
Yeah. And I actually the one product that I bought based off of that was the Infinity trade by, I forget who did that. Who was that? Not Jason Aaron. It wasn't the cat that did that Fantastic Four, and it was pretty good. What's that guy's name?
I should know it, but Jim Starlin.
No. I know what you're talking about. That's the old school.
At Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, not that. Infinity. It dropped not too long ago. Matter of fact,
you're talking about the new one.
Yeah. Infinity, It's way up there on my shelf. Anyway, what's that cat's name? The joint, basically where they got the Infinity Saga story arc from, basically it was a mixture between Jim Starlin's joint and the last one that just dropped. I'll edit it in to this video by the time we finish. They'll know what we talk about. But I bought that because I heard that it was based on part of that that arc or that saga or run or whatever you want to call it. And so I'll give them that. But outside of that, maybe the Ed Brubaker Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Those are examples. Those are good examples. I think those are examples where they could have really dialed that up from the marketing standpoint. Before Winter Soldier, you said go and check out Ed Brubaker's Winter Soldier, and then go see whatever something like that.
But there's also a like how you said before. There's a difference in storytelling. So
yeah.
When there's an adaptation from manga to anime, for the most part, it's essentially the same story. They add some extra fights, fight scenes, things like that. They may put some filler episodes in, but it's essentially the same thing. Here, you don't want people to know what's going to happen. So telling somebody, so they say, Captain America, Winter Soldier. I don't know. They may think that they're actually promoting Brubaker's book or his story arc is going to ruin the movie because depending upon how much they actually poured from it. Which, if you've noticed, they'll let you know what if you talk to the which has started to get better in the past few years because you actually have directors directors and writers that are into comics. So regardless of whether you agree with what they've done or not, they are pulling from different source material, and they'll tell you, this is where I got this from. I pull a piece from here. Because isn't like the new Batman part of that's like inspirations taken from the Long Halloween.
Long Halloween, supposedly, yeah.
And Year One,
right?
Frank Miller's Year One. So there's a lot of stuff. So you can literally once you hear, you need to be like, okay, I can go. Now you got to find Year One, and you got to find the Long Halloween, which of course gets back into instead of people coming to the comic retailers, the retailers need to come to people, need to find new ways. And it can't just be, the retail store that may be however many miles outside of where you are and an inconvenience to get to in conventions, which are, by nature, just very hot, crowded, and sweaty.
Yeah.
You're just on your feet for hours and hours and hours. So it's a conundrum, but obviously if they want to survive, the retailers want to survive, they have to, because remember, everybody thought that digital was going to save, was going to knock the industry down. Digital has just become, just an added thing that
it's not the disaster that,
it's not a disaster. It takes so much to produce a comic. Regardless of whether you're Marvel or DC, it takes so much to produce a comic. And you would have to literally, you know what? That's the interesting thing too. Because to make them easily accessible, that's the easiest that's easy. You can literally get it right there on your phone. You can download comics while you're looking at the movie.
True. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
So you do have access to it. I guess if you're given like a QC code or something, or a QR code. Yeah. To get a free comic or whatnot. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done or that are being done.
Yeah. I like to see more symmetry between the two, go ahead.
No, the two industries that are in danger is the movie theater industry and the comic book retailers. So you have those two industries that need to form a symbiotic relationship. They need one and the other. Especially with shoot, if I was them, I would, hopefully somebody is actually looking into doing I don't know, maybe like season passes or something. Because now that you have movies being released, straight to stream, people's I would love to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in the movie theater, but it's going to be on my television. So However, with friends and everything, you know, you can still make a thing of it.
And they're probably going to do some kind of theatrical release at some point. No, well, no, because it's on HBO Max, right?
No, but I mean, just like anything. I mean, if you have like, how great would it have been to actually watch like Daredevil off of Netflix in the movie theaters?
Oh, that'd have been awesome. Yeah, they could probably do that with like a Daredevil or something like that.
I mean, I think that they should.
Yeah.
I think they should. I mean, because the thing is, what has also been proven by human nature is that you can own, say, a movie set. You can own all 3 Avengers movies on 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Avengers, any one of the Avengers movies comes on TBS or TNT with commercials, more than likely you're going to sit there and watch it. You may be doing something else, but you're going to tune in. It just happens. People just do that. It's one of the great mysteries of human nature. I don't know what it is. I've done it myself. Just all of a sudden there's nothing on TV. Let me put this movie on with commercials that I have in my collection at greater quality too. So no, I don't know. The pandemic, if anything, has taught people that we have to get more creative. We have to get more. We have to use the tools that are available to us to promote what we want. Because, like I said, I'm not mad at Hollywood. Hollywood's going to take these ideas and they're going to, you know, they're our Zeuses.
I will say this, and one last point I will make is you were talking about earlier about how the industry, the Hollywood execs or the writers or whatever, they'll take some liberties, be it, you know, whatever it is, if they're doing changing genders or whatever and all that stuff, or race or whatever, swap this, that, and the other, right? And sometimes in the name of, like you said, throwing a twist in there, so it's not the exact same story, keep people guessing and so forth.
Or M. Night Shyamalan in there?
Yeah. Now look, if I can think of several, like Moby Dick, right? You know, Moby Dick movie ain't the same as the book. They cut out a lot of the what I thought was tedious stuff and just boiled it down to Ahab and the whale, right? But but it was the same story. You know what I'm saying? They didn't say it was, instead of a whale, it was a dragon, just for a twist, so you'd be like, oh my God, you know, whatever. What I seen in the movie theater is like Henry V. And the same way as the Shakespeare play, it's the same thing, you know what I'm saying? But then when you get the movies, the comic movies, I feel like we got to spice it up for some reason. You know what I'm saying? We got to throw them off the scent so that they can, you know, be shocked at the end.
Well, think about it. Well, let's think about it this way. So even though we may not like it, like how you said earlier, that Luffy is Luffy. You know, Zolo is Zolo. Whether manga or anime. However, you know, Superman's not Superman because Superman is old as hell.
True.
Old as hell. Yeah, I mean, could you imagine if Luffy was 50 years old?
Yeah, and that's the point there. That goes back to that point.
Now, Luffy will survive 50 years, 100 years. There will always be a One Piece, but it'll be that one piece.
Yep.
It can survive off of that because they will move on to another character, whatever the case is, story. Marvel and DC, their bread and butter are these characters. They have to change. I mean, they have to stay the same. They to a certain extent. So they have to. So you have to have these multi-directional stories. You have to have multi-interpretational stories. You know, this is my Superman, this is my SpiderMan, and you find a way to insert them. So it's another form of creativity. And the fact that, like, I can say this: I have never once in any anime that I've watched or manga that I've read sat back and thought I can do this better than the person that's doing it. I look at it and be like, I don't like what they've done with this character. However, it's set. It's like a good portion of Naruto Shippuden with Sasuke is just confusing. His actions, his responses to things, it doesn't make any sense. However, it played into where he is now. And they stuck with it. They took their mistakes. And I look at it more as like a slice of life thing. I mean, you don't understand why people make certain decisions that they do in real life. You just go along with it because you can't affect it. However, with Marvel and DC, with American comics, you look and be like, you know, everyone has their God complex. I can write this character better than they can.
Definitely with Hollywood, and that's why people getting into Snyder and say this grumpy Superman that always got this scowl on his face, as opposed to Richard Donner, you know, Superman, my man, what you call him, Christopher Reeves, you know, cheery, bright, blah blah blah. Oh, you know, those iterations. That's a good point. Yeah, it's you got the '60s Batman, you got the dark and gritty Batman.
Now think how bad. Now think how worse it is when you have executives that have the keys to your purse.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it, in Zack Snyder's position that he was in. He had a story that they had agreed on.
Mm-hmm.
He gave it to them, said, "This is what I want to start with here. This is how I want to end this journey here." It was 4 movies. With other movies that he had a hand in, like picking Jason Momoa to play Aquaman and maybe producing it, I think. Same thing with Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, and him producing that movie too.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a hand in it, forming this complete story that he wanted to tell. And then the executives got in and said, "You know what? No, you told us what it was, but I know we can do better because we're all of a sudden, we have years of cinematography mm-hmm. and storytelling behind us. And we're also comic historians.
Yeah.
So we're going to tell this story and we're going to, you know, we're going to one up you," which is the same thing happens with a lot of people, which, you know, I really didn't understand until I didn't understand how toxic that was until we started to create stuff.
Yeah.
And somebody told me that they would write, you know, and one person told me that they would write my character better than I wrote them. I said, "Whoa."
That's what you get with the with Hollywood. Because another example that I bring up, but I brought up earlier, was the organic weapon in
Mm-hmm.
SpiderMan. I can see them. I can see how it went down. They say, you know, you look at the Spider-Man story, the mythos. You say, some, you know, writer was like, well, he said he's a spidery type guy. Let's give him organic weapon because he's kind of like a spider. It says, well, when you go back to the original intent, his
smart.
That's what I'm saying. This dude is a 16-year-old with genius aptitude. Those web shooters was the fact that he could come up with the formula and a means by which to project the webs.
Yeah,
16 years old. They threw that out the window. I guess it was expedience, or some dude thought he was clever and thought it would fly. Now maybe, like I said, the tourists couldn't tell you if he had organic weapon or not, so they was like, all right, fine.
So Tobey Maguire had the organic, right?
Yeah.
But then Andrew Garfield had the mechanical.
Yeah. So they probably figured just have Tobey Maguire say some stuff that sounds smart, and then we'll say, oh yeah, he's a genius.
Yeah.
You know, he come up with rattle off a couple of scientific sounding quotes, and they'll be like, oh, he's a genius. Just show, man. Show me that this dude's a genius.
That's what I'm saying. People weren't enraged with that.
Just
change in the character, but that may have been because Spider-Man was probably the first superhero movie that didn't feel like a cheap adaptation.
Yeah.
I mean,
so everywhere, you know, the comic, you know, lovers down on their knees saying, "Thank you for giving us a decent movie. We'll let the organic weapon slide." And the tourists didn't know one way or the other, so it flew. Right. I had the complaint at the time, but I was down on my knees also saying, "Thank you for that." So I take the blame on that too. Fair. But now that we've got many different, you know, decent quality.
Now that we got the fat bellies from being fat so much, now we real picky with what we get. We real picky. I don't want that. I want this over here.
Nah, exactly. You know, I don't want pleather. I want leather. You know what I'm saying? I want the real thing. So it's a complaint, but in some senses, I get it. I understand. You know, you got the different iterations of characters, so you can't do a consensus and come up with one. But I still say the animated and, you know, especially Warner Brothers, I can't say much for Marvel, but Warner Brothers does a fantastic job We're giving you a really good representation of the characters. It's accurate. And, you know, they don't make a whole lot of changes, except for at times they go with the hot character. You know, they might say, I mean, in an anime, I don't see no reason why, what you call him, Cyborg is with the Justice League. It don't make no sense. Historically, he's not in the Justice League. He's with the Teen Titans. But they put him in there because reasons, I don't know. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But I do see it at times as being abusive, in the sense that I hate to see comics adapt to the big screen, thinking that it's going to make a difference. Just stick to your continuity and do what you was doing, because they don't care one way or the other. You know what I'm saying?
That's where the money portion comes in.
I mean, but the suits are going to make whatever changes they're going to make anyway, so it won't move a needle on your sales one way or the other if you don't go along with Hollywood. Just go ahead and they're just going to take what they want anyway.
Well, they try in the very, and I know what you're talking about. It's talking about like when the XMen had the black costumes on.
Yeah.
The movies, next thing you know, the X-Men, what was it? Astonishing X-Men. They had the
I think that was
all black outfits.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried to get that audience, but it's the same problem though. You're reaching out to the exact same people. You're not getting those people that were watching the X-Men movies. You're not putting them where they need to, like where they could get them.
Yeah. Which,
like I said, is a very obtuse way to look at what we're into. Because even I would even, it's not so much of a disagreement with you. I enjoy the movies, the animated movies. I think that it's wasted potential because they're sticking with the live action format. They stick with the live action format, so they do, you know, just a 2-hour movie where you're cutting it down like you would actually have a live presentation. Whereas if I had the reins, I would actually create MCU animated, and it would be it would be in the veins of an actual manga. See, the strength with Naruto and you know, Bleach, One Piece, Attack on Titan, you know, they have staying power over years. So these are, you know, even if you're looking at, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, Dragon Ball is just as relevant now as it was 20 years ago. And I mean, the only thing that they do is get stronger. There's no real character developmental changes or anything.
Not really.
It's just self-service because they have that, they can do with X-Men. If you just want to do one, they can do an anime with X-Men and they can start from the beginning. Just go all the way through. And it would just be years and years and years of new characters, new development, story arcs, on and on and on. And what you're doing is you're getting all those different generations of fans. So you're going to have people that grew up reading those that are now going to watch it. And you're going to have their kids watching it. So what you're not doing, because publishers can't force people to go to the comic stores. So what they're doing with, like, the streaming thing is doing what the comic retailers haven't figured out what to do yet, how to bring the content to the people. And they have a physical product, not a digital, which is why I was saying put it in the movie theaters where people are already going. Right. Near the movie theaters where people are already going. And that's where everything lies. You know, I mean, that's why digital hasn't taken off the way that it was, because you're still getting the same people. You're not getting newer people. You're just getting people that's going to, you know, have a little bit of disposable income that's going to spend $10 on, like, I don't know, 20, 15, 20, like, digital books, maybe. But then they're still buying Marvel and DC. So we're still in the same struggle as in terms of independence. So if it were I, if it were me, because look, you have Crunchyroll out there. It's just an anime app. Yeah. It's an anime app. That's big. So, and don't do it. Like, remember when Marvel did those, the Iron Man, X-Men, Wolverine, and Blade animations? Madhouse? Yeah. They were horrible because, one, they did them in the old style of,
You're talking about like,
Fist of the North Star.
North Star.
And Ninja Scroll. So they did it in that style.
Yeah.
It did in that style when it was already going through the newer style, the newer, cleaner style.
Yeah.
Which of course meant that they had to make the stories more grittier.
Mm-hmm.
But then it didn't capture the heart of what the anime stories did.
Mm-hmm. Silence your cell phone.
Man, sorry about that. Late.
No worries.
It was late. So no, that's something that I would actually definitely do because anime is proven to make money and proven to make long money.
Yes.
Long money. So something like that with our stuff. We would.
You know what I like to see them do? Say like Claremont lead XMen.
Most definitely.
Start from one and pick a spot at the end.
Chris Claremont, Jim
Lee. Yeah.
Are you talking about before with the Dark Phoenix saga and all that?
No. You can start with that X-Men.
The original Chris Claremont.
No. The one that wound up selling them millions of copies or whatever.
That was the Jim Lee one.
Jim Lee one. Take that, pick an end spot in that run, and do a saga, MCU like saga off of that. Just live action. But just follow that Joker, basically blow for blow. Follow it through and see what that'll get you.
Dude.
All them cats that was buying that book in the 90s or whatever, they'd throw their money at you. They would throw their money, and it'd be a complete story because it's one dude's vision in an arc.
Mm-hmm.
They're not cobbling. I mean, they kind of did it with X-Men too when they did God's, man, God Love, Man Kills. It was basically two? I don't know how many issues that was, but that basically was that story. Mm-hmm. They just jammed it all together into one movie, which in terms of continuity or just complete thought, yeah, that worked for the most part.
As I said, that 2 hours though, they could have got a lot more. They're still constraining themselves. The industry constrains itself, the retailer side and the publisher side, even when it branches out into the movies and the animations. Yeah, constrains itself a lot. Yeah. Self-constrainment.
It's one of them things that you got to live with. I'm gonna gripe about it, but in the end, you got to live with it and just hope you get a nice, clean story here and there. I give Marvel credit, and depending on how this Snyder cut goes, I give him credit also because I've fallen in love with with Snyder's vision, just for reasons, what I'm saying. You put me onto that joint with it.
15,000 word.
Yeah, the essay, and I hate to have to read an essay to like something, but I did, and now I'm in love with it. So I'm hoping that the Snyder cut,
a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, I hope that this turns out to be just a great Superman type story, which it seems like Superman is the theme of Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, Justice League. It's a tight Superman story.
That's what it was.
That's it.
Superman that everyone wanted.
And it's not as, we're going a little off topic, but it's not going to get you the money that the MCU got you, but at least the story is tight.
See, but the MCU is a formula though.
It is.
The MCU is a formula, and what they did with the DCEU was very uncomfortable. It took characters that people thought that they knew, and put them in situations where, especially if you were not an avid comic reader, you wouldn't have seen like they weren't familiar to you. Like people were very distraught about Ben Affleck's Batman being, I guess, nonchalantly, he wasn't murdering people. He was killing people.
He just happened to be there when people died.
Right. I mean, you need to get through the car. The car's right there. You blow the car up. Bow. The guy's inside you assume is dead. But then you go back and look at the Michael Keaton movies. Like
I killed quite a few.
There's quite a few. He literally drove the car in there without himself in it. He removed the car and then blew up the whole
access.
They were right there beside the car shooting it.
I can't see nobody getting out of that building alive.
There was a bomb at their feet. They're dead.
All of the members died.
He purposely killed Joker. But since it was like a wacky, loony type, it was dark, don't get me wrong, but it was presented in such a way that you don't focus on the death. More like
it went over.
They kept a lot of Cesar Romero's Joker with the Jack Nicholson performance. Yeah.
So
it was on purpose. They made him darker, but it was a lot of his performance in it.
But Snyder was just like, you know, he went there. You know what I'm saying? And, like I said, it's grown on me. I mean, I always loved Man of Steel. Batman v Superman, you got me into, so I'm cool with that. Justice League, they tortured.
Yeah, Justice League.
Joss Whedon just.
Justice League was like a kick in the nuts.
It was horrific. That's why I can't wait for that Snyder cut to drop, because you could see the elements of what Snyder was doing, but it got derailed, which again goes to Hollywood and its suits and how they destroy franchises because they can't settle on a vision. Did it with Star Wars, they did it with Justice League, they're gonna do it, they're gonna keep doing it because egos and nonsense gets in the way and then just destroys movies, you know.
They want that money. Money play a big thing. They want to change direction very quick, and they thought that they want to follow instead of what made them different. Instead of jumping both feet in with what made them different. Hence, because think about it. People are talking about a movie that came out. When did Man of Steel come out? Like 2016?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
12? It came out a while ago.
Oh, man.
It came out a while ago.
12 or something like that, I guess. Might be. Yeah, so let's say 12, I guess. I don't know. I think it was 2012 or 13.
2013.
13, was it? There you go.
2013, and now we're in 2021.
We about to put
so this is 8 years later.
Yeah.
This is 8 years later, and people are still talking about the relevancy of that movie. Nobody is really sitting down talking about Iron Man 1 or 2. I mean, you acknowledge that Iron Man set off the MCU. At best, you may have people talking about Infinity War in games. More so Infinity Wars than anything. So that may be the most talked about. Well, right now, maybe Ultron because of WandaVision. People found respect for Ultron because of what's happening in WandaVision. But that's what it is, though. Like, these things have, once people stop looking at the immediacy of the content, you look at the relevancy moving on. That's where the strength lies, and that's what makes One Piece so relevant. You can go back and look at the childish style that it was drawn in as to what it is now. Like, you can see glimmers of what it was or what it was going to be, but it has continued to grow and grow. It grows. These things grow.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
now we went over the length that I wanted this video to be, but this was very cathartic and it made me feel better. So I'm good with that, because you know it was like a little burr on my butt that I had to get off. So you know what I'm saying, I still, you know, it's a love-hate thing, me, Hollywood and comics, because the kind, you know, I gotta learn to live with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's petty or what, you know. Yeah, but it's like you say, at least we back from being on our knees begging for decent movies.
I mean, unless you want them to start putting green paint on somebody to be Hulk.
Yeah, there's always that.
Nothing against the Lou Ferrigno version. I'm just saying.
We've come a long way. We've come a long way.
We've come a long way, exactly. So,
yeah,
very grateful for what we have and to be a part of this whole experiment, this creative experiment.
Okay, man. Thanks for coming on with me. Thanks for doing this, and we'll be back on C3 Weekly with another timely topic next week. So thanks for checking this out. Enjoy your comics, enjoy your movies. Everybody stay tuned.